Hello, hello, Changemakers. Sandra Madafferi here with another very, very special guest. But before I do introduce her, I want to talk about how important it is to actually be healthy when it comes to being a business owner. The fact that you need to show up at 100% in your business every single day means that you need to look after yourself as number one. And one of the things that we tend to do is when we get really busy is that we forget to actually look after ourselves. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you the hypnotic dietitian herself, Meg Smith. Hello, Meg or Meagan.
Hello, thank you for having me on. Yeah, I'll answer to anything. Meagan. Meagan's just a bit harder to spell.
My pleasure. So would you like to tell everyone a little bit about yourself, what you do, how you got on this journey, and especially around how you became the hypnotic dietitian?
Sure. I've been a dietitian for, I think close to 14 years, and then I studied 4 years of nutrition before that. So I've had a very strong focus on nutrition for a long time. I got to a point in my life where my mental health and my physical health were catching up with each other, and I just couldn't get ahead. So I was looking for a way to balance things, and I came across Sandra, who I worked with on hypnosis and NLP and timeline therapy went there basically for a mental health issue. And then that within 3 sessions, my life was completely different. So I then walked away, as I do, and started thinking, how can I help people in my own clinics and my own life do the same things that I've just done? Because I recognize that how we do one thing is how we do everything. So whatever we are doing in one area of our life will then triple over into the next. So I think that year I signed up for hypno and NLP and became hypno trained and NLP trained, and now I'm master prac trained and neuro change method as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the most common question I get is, how do they all link? But it's once I've started realizing it, how do they not link? Like everyone comes to me with a dietary problem, and I then can start to see how that's just the surface level. And then when we start to ask more and more questions, and now I know which questions to ask, we start to uncover the crux of the problem underneath that.
Absolutely. And you are also trained in timeline therapy as well.
I am.
we often call that the game changer. And absolutely, people, and what we're going to be talking a little bit about today is the gut-brain connection, right?
Yep.
So they absolutely are linked, because as you can explain, your emotions will directly affect the way your gut functions. So I'm going to let you talk about that, because you are the expert. So tell us a little bit more about that connection.
Yeah, there's so many layers to that.
We'll try and keep it a little bit.
Yeah. I'll start with the very beginning, hey? So at the very, very beginning, when you're a fetus, not even a fetus, when you're a cluster of cells in your mum's tummy, you've got this cluster of cells, and half is going off to form the brain and the other half goes down to form the gut. So from that point, you're not even considered a human yet. And your body has already started forming this really strong connection between the two. The major connection there is called the vagus nerve. And I know lots of people have heard about this, but it's a pretty amazing nerve in the body. And we know that nerve particularly can send messages both ways. So not just from the brain to the gut, but also from the gut back up to the brain. So when we look into this further, is it the gut that's causing the problem, or the brain that's causing the problem, or both at the same time? So that's the basics of the brain-gut axis and the brain-gut connection. Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand that. We're learning more and more about the brain now, but a lot of people believe that, they sort of almost, for many, many years, it was almost like the brain was its own part of the body and not connected to anything. But we know now that, you know, we've got, as you know, that because this is part of our training, 10 times 10 in brackets by 11 neurological connections in our whole body. So our whole body is basically eavesdropping on everything that we say. And to take it even a step further without getting too far into this, because this is master practitioner stuff, but we are a holographic of everything in our body. So one little cell holds everything. And so, of course, it's all absolutely connected. I want to ask you, what do you think is the biggest problems with business owners when it comes to looking after their gut health?
Yeah, so health in general. I had a conversation with somebody on the weekend who is a business owner, and we were just talking about a daily meal patterns. And this person said, I don't have time for lunch. I've got to get to the next job. So telling that automatically tells your body that you don't have time for yourself. You don't have time to look after yourself. And if you're telling your body that in one sense, then what else are you projecting out into the world? A lot of that comes back to as well, if you know, one of the main things I hear from business owners is I just don't get hungry. But when we are running on adrenaline and running on our nerves, all of the blood is flowing away from the stomach and to the parts of your body that needs it the most. So often the brain, because we're using our brain to switch it on, or to our muscles if you're a physical worker. So there is no blood flow going to the stomach. So of course the stomach's not going to tell you that it's hungry. The other thing that I find a lot is, and people seem to resonate with, is that if you continually skip food and you continually skip meals, your body is efficient. It realizes, oh, we're not going to get that food. So we're not going to bother saying, oh, we're hungry. Here, feed us. It gets used to working into patterns and taking shortcuts so that it can be more efficient. So if you stop eating one meal or continually do a pattern, then your body's not going to tell you to all of a sudden just start eating one day. But yeah, I think the biggest thing I find is that people say I'm too busy, or they eat at their desk or in front of their computer. So they're not actually allowing that connection between what they're eating and preparing their gut for digestion. And if you're putting food in there without giving blood flow, then that can make you feel tired and sleepy and sluggish and get that brain fog as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say that I'm getting better. Absolutely guilty as charged. So, but in fact today I had a really, really busy day, and between two Zoom calls I just went, I've got to go and eat. So because, you know, I've been listening a lot to what you say and what you tell us to do, I'm getting a lot better with that. But I was one of those, I'm not hungry because I was not getting any blood flow into my stomach. And the interesting thing is the signals that we're actually telling our brain or our unconscious mind about ourselves, and people don't actually ever realize that. But if you don't look after, you know, people think about we look after our body because it's the one body we've got to be happy and healthy and all those sorts of things. But what they don't realize is that there's more to it than just looking after your body, because you're just telling your unconscious mind, I'm not worth it. And basically that's what it comes down to. Because if you really thought you were worth it, and I'm going to say this from experience, you would look after yourself and eat properly instead of when you get 5 seconds throwing junk down your throat or drinking a cup of coffee to keep going.
Yeah, the junk and the coffee, it's interesting. The junk part, when we're stressed and the blood flow is away from our stomach, our brain goes, we need something to keep us going. You want us to keep going? We're going to need something quick to keep going. And the biggest things we crave is fat, salt, and sugar, because our brain knows that from a historical point of view and a evolutionary point of view, that fat and sugar gives us the quickest source of energy. So if you're finding that you're craving things, it may be that you're not putting in time to think about what you actually need to fuel your body, because your brain is just running on that go mentality.
Yeah. And don't judge me, right? But do you know what
I don't judge.
what used to be my favourite lunch? A packet of salt and vinegar chips and a cup of coffee.
Oh, salt and vinegar chips are my Achilles heel. I need to do a like to dislike for that.
Yes. Yeah. We can do that.
I know.
but it's interesting because, you know, the minute I started to sort of learn all this stuff and realize that if I didn't stay taking care of myself, my body wouldn't function properly for me to be able to have that clear mind. And I need that clear mind. I'm working with people every day, not just coaching, but even when I'm doing my trainings, I need to have a really clear mind that the cravings actually went.
Yep. Yeah, because you're nourishing your body.
Yeah. So the more what you're saying is the more you're nourishing your body, the more you want them. Well, I do love my red apples now after that hypnosis that we did.
Amazing.
For those who don't know, Meagan actually runs monthly healthy weight hypnosis. And I had a night off one night, so I decided to sit in. And while we were doing it, I just had this craving to have to eat a red apple. And I've been eating at least one red apple per day now. Isn't that
how good's that?
how fantastic hypnosis is?
So good. I love it. I get so much feedback from those healthy eating hypnos about people because you're focusing on one thing to change. And so many people have come back and said, yeah, I haven't touched that food, or I'm eating this more often now. It's that unconscious level thinking works so well.
Yeah, it's so good, isn't it? The unconscious mind. Absolutely. It's my passion now, and it's I think going to be my lifelong study until the day I'm no longer studying. So tell us a little bit about okay, not so much what to eat, but what is a good, healthy, balanced diet? Because the other thing that I used to do was not eat. That was just as bad, just like not eating at all. So what is a good, healthy, balanced diet in general terms, I guess?
Yeah, so I guess healthy for everyone can be slightly different. So so this is completely general information and nothing specific for medical conditions or anything like that. But what I generally get people to do is make sure that they are having some sort of protein, some sort of carb, and proteins and carbs at breakfast with some sort of fiber. So fruit, usually that would be fruit, a dairy, whether it's, cow's dairy or dairy alternative, and then some sort of whole grain. So that's getting you a whole lot of fiber in first thing in the morning, but also giving you some protein to help you balance through the day. And then lunch and dinner basing around at least 2 handfuls of vegetables at lunch and dinner, and then half that of protein at lunch and dinner as well. And that can be vegetarian sources of protein too. If you're doing that, starting there and getting that 3 sort of meals per day, then you're automatically going to up your fiber intake, which feeds the good gut bugs, of which we have, I think it's literally trillions of gut bacteria. So as soon as you increase your fiber by having whole grains plus the different fiber types from fruits and vegetables, your gut bugs are going to be happier. And then it's about filling in the holes to make up the differences with what you specifically need. So that might be extra protein, it could be extra carbs, it could be extra veg, usually extra fruit, and balancing things out from there, as well as good fats. So fats are really important for hormone metabolism, the body's run on hormones. So as you know very well. And I think I did a post about this last week, actually. One of the biggest hangovers from the diet, no fat culture that we had, I think it was the 80s, 90s and early 2000s, was that everybody's got this fear around, or a lot of people have a fear around fat, and then they have a low fat diet, which can then affect your hormones. So I had a client who actually, she was a female, stopped getting her period. She was having such a low fat diet. And as soon as she started to reintroduce good fats into her diet, her period returned. And that's all hormonal based. That's a really extreme scenario. But it highlights that connection really well. So good amount of fiber, some from whole grains, fruits and vegetables, good lean proteins, as well as some dairy and what have I forgotten there? That's everything. And lots of water.
Well, I'm going to tell everyone my favourite breakfast, and the reason why is because I saw you pop this in your group. You actually were talking about this. You know, the Carmen muesli, the multi-grain muesli in the little sachet. So I have that, put water in it, then I put a dollop of yogurt and I put berries. And that has now become, with a bit of honey. Yep. And I buy some really nice raw honey. And that has now become my absolute favourite breakfast, because unfortunately, growing up in my day, yes, we went, these were the fads. You don't eat dairy, so nobody ate dairy. Then we didn't eat eggs.
Eggs, yeah.
Right. Then we went into low fat, really low fat. Like there was no fat in anything, right? And then we went into the crazy no carb. Yeah. And then I sit here at my age and I wonder why my body's like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. So these fad diets, they don't, in the long run, they might work in the sense of you're going to lose weight really quickly. But I think looking back now, you pay for it when you're older, and I really don't think it's worth it.
No, and the other thing that does is just confuse people. So nearly every person that sits in a room with me says, I just don't know what's left. And they say you're not meant to eat these. They say you're not meant to eat that. But there's a lot of telling you what you're not meant to eat, but there's not a lot of focus on what you are meant to eat, which, you know, you focus on what you want. So that in itself as well can actually try and, I guess, lends us towards the thinking that I need to eat less to be healthier, which isn't actually, like, most of the time when I speak to people, I'm actually telling them to eat more, because the quality of their diet increases if they eat more of the types of foods that I'm recommending. And a lot of those are going to be fiber-based foods, because that nourishes the gut and it helps with digestion. It helps to keep your blood sugars steady for longer. It helps to also keep you feel fuller for longer as well. So it's I haven't thought about it like that, but if we're always focusing on what we shouldn't be eating, then we're going to miss what we actually are meant to be eating to help nourish our body and our brains.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that tip that I think it was a few weeks ago, and you said your plate, half veggies, salads, a quarter protein and a quarter carbs.
Oh, look at you, Ace Plus student.
I tell you what, because every night I sit there and that's exactly what I put on my plate, and it has been absolutely helping. And we do have the good fats, you know, the coconut oil or the extra virgin olive oil. So we do all of that. Avocados, which I could eat just straight out.
Scoop them out.
and I have to say that I'm actually waking up earlier in the mornings and not feeling tired already. And it hasn't been that long that we've started, that I've started all of this, because, you know, so it is really helpful, because the memory I've noticed that the memory's starting to come back again as well. Because my memory, I've always been very proud. I can't even talk. Proud of the fact that I have a really good memory, and that was starting to get really, like, I couldn't remember things, and that's I've already noticed a bit of a difference. I mean, I've been doing this 2.5, 3 weeks. Yeah. So yeah, really, really good. So
well, the other thing, I guess, when you do that, you automatically, especially if you're getting lots of colourful veggies, you boost your antioxidant level, which then helps to that. And from NeuroChange, we know that how much that helps the brain, having extra antioxidants, mopping up all the free radicals. So yeah, it's all linked. Like, we can't just think of, I need to eat this food for this reason and this food for this reason. It's pretty amazing what happens.
Absolutely, 100%. And you know, the other thing that I've been doing a lot of is growing my own veggies. So love it. I have an abundance of leafy greens, including kale at the moment, growing broccoli, you know, spinach.
Yeah, they'll be loving all the water they're getting at the moment from the rain.
From the rains, I think, fantastic for my veggie patch. Yeah. But that also means that they're clean. because I don't spray them with anything.
Yeah.
Because that's the other problem. Because I want to know, I'm just going to ask you before we finish. I learned not that long ago about the dirty dozen, and I was so shocked to find out that strawberries are the #1 most chemically fueled food.
Right. Well, that's interesting. I haven't looked a lot into this stuff, but I guess it makes sense. If you ever tried to grow strawberries?
Yes, I've got two pots outside which are flowering, which means that we will have strawberries this year.
Yeah, but try and keep the bugs off them, and try and keep them from being eaten by something. Like, that's the hardest part about growing those fruit, and not just like lizards and everything.
Yeah. Let me tell you that one of the things that I did learn is that if you put green adventurine crystals, little chip crystals, that help.
Yeah.
I know eggshells help. If anyone's watching or listening to this, if you know any other tips, but there are apparently some essential oils that you can put around and to stop your bugs. But I haven't tried this yet. I will see what I can do.
Yeah. Or even a net, maybe.
Yeah.
Like net them.
I don't
We've
know.
got a horticulturist in the group, don't we?
Sorry?
Don't we have a horticulturist in the group?
We do. So when she watches this, you're going to let us know. But there, you know, I have to say, I mean, where we live, because for those who are listening and watching, Meagan and I don't live far from each other. I was growing some beautiful tomatoes last summer and never got to enjoy them because I went out there and they'd been eaten. So we have cockatoos that just destroy everything. So nets might be the way to go. So before we finish, Meagan, as I've said to everyone, you can absolutely look Meagan or Meg Smith. She's on Facebook, the hypnotic dietitian, so you can look her up. I highly recommend it. Join her group. What's your group called, Meagan?
Gut Health Recovery Group.
Okay, on Facebook, and Meagan does have monthly, I think they are.
Yeah.
Webinars, healthy eating webinars, which I highly recommend especially if you've never been hypnotized before. I think it's worth going along and letting yourself be hypnotized, because you can't be hypnotized. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So you have to let yourself listen to Meagan's suggestions and get hypnotized. And, you know, if you're having any gut health issues, I highly recommend that you connect with Meagan and ask her. Meagan, if you can put all the links, we'll share them on YouTube and the podcast as well. And I just want to say thank you so much for being here. You really are an expert in your field, and it's been an absolute honor and a pleasure for me to watch you over the last couple of years to grow into an absolutely amazing therapist. And I love the holistic approach that you take of being able to do, you know, not just look at diet, but just look at the whole person. So absolutely fantastic. So if anyone has any questions, let us know, and we will get Meagan to answer them for you. So thanks again, everyone, for being here. And thanks, Meagan. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.